The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's April 25th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented as always by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health and lock up NIL deals with every prospect imaginable that might want to be a Miami Hurricane. Did I say that right, Matt?
Whatever, man. You do you. I'm doing LifeWallet, you're doing LifeWallet, so whatever, man.
Listen, we took a couple days off from the show. I'm responsible. I'm sorry. I've been like on the move like a maniac, and I'm not sure it's stopping anytime soon. Just going day by day, but yeah. So we didn't have a show Friday, and like all hell's broken loose. Quite frankly, I mean, you've got multiple commits in football. You've got multiple commits. Well, I mean, a commit in men's basketball and multiple commits in women's basketball because they're twins. The Cavender twins, and we'll talk a little bit about them in a minute. A ton of visits left and right, as always. So just an enormous amount of stuff for us to dive into here this morning to catch you guys up on our thoughts on all the goings on in Hurricane Land. So, Matt, let's start with the football commits. That's what everybody cares about the most. Although, man, those basketball commits are pretty darn interesting, but we'll get to them in a second. All right, football commits. You got West Virginia defensive lineman Akeem Mesidor. You've got UCLA linebacker Caleb Johnson, and a reasonable chance that soon there will be a commit coming from Maryland defensive tackle Darrell Jackson, although there was some scuttlebutt last night that the Florida Gators might be throwing some monkey wrenches into that one a little bit. And, I don't know. I don't know that I haven't seen anyone win a bidding war with John Ruiz yet, unless you want to count Georgia with Mims, getting Mims to stay in Athens. Maybe you got to give a notch in the other direction on that. But John Ruiz, Matt, LifeWallet, is a one-man construction crew, so to speak, totally transforming this Miami athletic department and carrying the football program through this early stages of NIL period. And, a lot of people were skeptical, and we still got a long way to go. We're not casting opinions in that regard, but I will say this: everything John Ruiz has said he was going to do, he is done with an exclamation point, and he is stepping up large for Miami athletics in general, and for the purposes of our conversation right this second, the football program.
Yeah, look, I'm a big fan of guys who do stuff like this behind the scenes. I'm just, it's just not for me, man. Like the whole Twitter fighting with people and saying how great you are. And like, I don't know, man, like that's just not me. I don't get it. I don't understand people like that. Maybe he thinks he's promoting his business. I guess that's the bottom idea for it. But all that matters at the end of the day is that he pays what he's supposed to pay. And these kids play for the Miami Hurricanes. I don't need to mention his name. The company, whatever, man. Like it could be 10 different companies. There's plenty of companies that are helping these kids out to get no notoriety because they're not out there on Twitter saying, look what I did.
Well, he's sucking up all the oxygen.
Yeah, he is. Well, look, if that's his deal, that's his deal. Some people are like that, So that's, I have a different type of personality. That's all. I'm sure there's people that love that type of personality, and then some that are like a little turned off by it. And either way is fine. At the end of the day, like I said, if you're getting the players you need and you're Mario Cristobal and you're a Miami fan, like, that's all that matters. Like the guy, hate the guy, think the guy's going to wind up not paying people and screwing people over, think he's going to pay everybody and pay millions more. Like, whatever you believe, if at the end of the day, they're getting the players are coming here, the players are happy, he's paying the bills, like, I'm just not going to go on his Twitter feed, and I'm just going to be very happy about it. And that's how everyone else should deal with it, in my opinion. That's just how I feel. Like, I'm not going to lie about it. That's my opinion.
All right. Well, for starters, he's getting just about everybody that they're going after.
Right.
And It's gotten to the point now where the kids, as interest in Miami becomes real, they make contact with him, or their handlers or advisors make contact with him. They negotiate the deals, and they know exactly what they're going to be, and then they make their decisions. And
I called a commitment who may or may not be Miami Hurricane, whatever. I'm not going to say who it is or what school he's going to or whatever. But like, I called the kid, no answer, left a message. I get a call back a few minutes later, and the person says, "Did you just call so and so?" And I'm like, "Yeah, who's this?" And he says, "I'm his agent."
Yeah.
Like, this is what it's come to, and I don't know if that's illegal or not. I'm not saying what school the kid's going to. Like, I think it's legal because I think the kid maybe had already signed. But like, that's what this has come to. Like, agents are calling back reporters to set up interviews with their clients.
They've all got handlers, advisors, people shopping them around, calling different. I mean, it's kind of necessary. I mean, if you're going to negotiate NIL deals with multiple schools before you make a decision, you kind of doesn't hurt to have somebody out there, just putting out feelers and seeing.
Yeah, but a high school prospect can't have an agent. I think a college student athlete who's transferring, I believe, probably could, right? Because he could have NIL deals at his prior school. I'm guessing.
The marketing agent.
Yes, I'm guessing that's okay. Well, no, it's not a marketing agent. Okay, this is what's happening. This is what people aren't maybe
they're
recognizing.
Technically marketing agents.
No, they're
negotiating NIL deals.
Can I talk for 2 seconds?
Just like Rosenhaus, for example, has become an NIL marketing firm. First Round Management has become an NIL marketing firm. They negotiate deals for the players.
The reason they're doing it isn't for NIL money. The reason they're doing it is it's a way around not being able to be an agent for a student athlete. Because once you're their quote unquote marketing agent for NIL deals, they're going to stay with you and sign their NFL contract with you. They're just getting their hands on you. They're just getting their hands on you 4 years earlier. And the agents eventually are basically going to push kids to different programs. I'm not going to name any agents' names, but you know who the big agents are. And you don't think that agent's calling someone at Oklahoma and calling someone at Oregon and calling someone at USC and saying, "Hey, I got a kid at Miami, and if you make a better deal than what he's getting here, he'll transfer you next year." That's what this is becoming in college football. And I was talking to a friend of mine who I had dinner with the other night, and he's like aghast. He's a huge Gator fan. I'm not a Gator fan, okay, people? He's a huge Gator fan, and he sees what's coming. And I couldn't disagree with him. He says this NIL is ruining what he used to be a fan of as college football. It's becoming a ridiculous animal where you can't root for a player anymore because that player who you thought was going to be at your school for 3 to 5 years being developed is leaving after a year because he's just going to go to the highest bidder based on what his agent tells him to do. And agents are going to rule college football in a couple of years when they figure out what they're doing and get their hooks into these kids.
Well, look, you need the schools that have the best NIL programs are thriving right now, and Miami is unquestionably one of them. This NIL deal, I think it's now up to 10 players I think they've brought in through the transfer portal. It's allowing Mario Cristobal to... It's
not even that. It's going to extend to high school. Whoever has the most money, and I feel bad for the mid-majors and the major programs that aren't in big markets that don't have a lot of money because they are screwed, man. Like, Miami's in great shape. Miami's a great market. They got the right coach now. They got this guy who's throwing money everywhere. Like,
and this is just the beginning, by the way.
It's like Disney World right now down here in Miami. Like, it's the perfect storm, so to speak, for a Hurricanes team.
But right now, it's all one guy. Wait until there's a collective being put together. That's going to be a second entity. Dan Lambert is still out there, the original Miami NIL benefactor. He's still out there with his effort. Bring back to you, and they're out raising money and trying to make what they do this next year as big as possible.
This is what bothers me, okay? Like, I have no problem with them taking Darrell Jackson and taking Antonio Moultrie. Like, if that's what Mario Cristobal thinks they need, great. But once all those things are in place, and every top high school kid in America wants to come here, well, you just sort of tangled up your roster with spots out of that 25 that now you can only take 20 next year or the year after. Like, that's just for me. That's not
work itself out. There's always going to be guys coming.
It always works itself out. But I mean, that's just me, man. I want that full numbers because they're going to be killing it. And when you could take 25 5-stars, going to give them each $1 million, like, take 25 5-stars. Oops, we took Antonio Moultrie. Oops, we took Darrell Jackson. Oops, we took Jacob Lichtenstein. Oops, we took, those 5 guys who, like, we're going to be backups and, like, help this year. But, like, if you can get 5 stars extra in the next 2 or 3 cycles, man, that's what
Mario's not worried about winning in 3 years or 4 years. Mario wants to win now. Okay, Mario came to Miami to win. He didn't come here to play around.
If they were winning a national championship this year,
sell a 5-year rebuild to the fan base and all that.
If they were winning a national championship this year, I agree. But I think if he's just trying to make the ACC title game, like, I want a national championship. That's all Miami fans want. They don't even want to win the ACC. Like, winning the ACC is great, but they want a national championship, man. They want that parade down Biscayne that we used to go to 20 years ago. That's what they want.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That's obviously, I don't care how many transfers they take. That's not happening this year. But good things are happening, and they are at least going to be set up with a representative team. And how good it is, we'll see in September. I mean, it's still coming together. I mean, a lot of these guys haven't even practiced yet. So, but getting back to what we were talking about, with John Ruiz, and here's what I think is pretty obvious. And you talked about how showy he is, and he is ridiculously showy, and he's all over social media, and he's braggadocious and all of these things. But but I will say he's backing it up. Okay, that's one thing. But the first thing that I'm asked by people, what's in this for John Ruiz? Okay. And, they look at Life Wallet. It's a brand new app that nobody really knows that much about. Nobody really knows how they're going to make money with it. I want to ask John Ruiz that at some point in one of our interviews. I want him to explain that because I think a lot of people want to know about Life Wallet and where he's going with it.
Well, isn't he trying to get bought out in June by some major company and getting like $1 billion for that?
There's a big thing going on in his.
If he can do that, that's probably the ultimate goal, right? Is to reach that point.
Yeah, but I don't know that Life Wallet is going to make or break that deal.
No, but if he promotes the company and makes it a national name where everyone knows what Life Wallet is, I think it's probably more likely he'll get that deal. Maybe that's his objective. I don't know his objective. Maybe just
we'll have to ask him to explain it. But there's one thing that is very obvious that his objective is. He is trying to build his family's brand. Him, his sons, his daughter, they are trying to build their family brand. Before John Ruiz, John Ruiz has been involved in business and law for many, many, many years in South Florida, and clearly had a lot of success doing it. But I never heard anybody mention. I never heard Matt. Wait a minute. I never heard. I've been in the media now for 40-something years in South Florida. I never heard anybody mention. Well, no, I take that back. There were a couple times. There were some things I was doing a while back, and I knew about. He had some type of company called Lale, and I remembered his dealings in Homestead and things like that. So I had heard his name before. But his name is now a household name in South Florida. Okay. He has, bought his way, bought's a fair word. He has bought his way into the power structure of Miami and South Florida as the guy that is making the U, stronger in athletics. And he's done that in a few months. And he is building that brand, and he's thinking very big with it. We'll talk a little bit more about the Carpenter twins, the women's basketball tandem in a few minutes. But like those girls have 4 million social media followers. The minute that they go on their social media and start pumping John Ruiz and Life Wallet, and to those 4 million people. You could see where he's going with this. He is building his brand, his family's brand, and his kids and himself for the remainder of his life are going to be very well known in South Florida because of what they're doing. And he's bought it right now for $4 or $5 million maybe in NIL deals, which if you really are going to be worth $28 billion, which has been the party line, obviously, a few $1 million means absolutely nothing. And now his name is out there with the biggest power players. Like who are the biggest power players in South Florida? Norman Brayman, obviously the Moss brothers, but they're like very low key. Like they're not showy people.
Correct.
You know,
Well, listen, he hopefully, I don't know if John Ruiz disappears after he gets his $1 billion deal in June, or he really is a Miami Hurricane
he's
fan.
not disappearing.
I hope. Listen, I hope everything works out great. But even if he does disappear, what you're talking about, that structure in place with the Moss brothers and everything behind the scenes, like as long as that's there, it doesn't matter what John Ruiz does. Like they just need that, the backup plan, the backup money, whatever it is, to make sure these contracts are honored no matter by whom, and that the money's there in perpetuity for this program. Because listen, there's people who have tons of money and something doesn't work out and they go bankrupt. And I think John Ruiz had a situation like that at one point where it didn't work out right with one of the companies, and that happened. And he's worked himself right back up, and that's difficult to do. And congratulations to him on that. But like it can happen to anybody. The economy tanks, whatever it is. The field you're in tanks. The deal doesn't get done. Whatever. So you need multiple people. It can't just be one person. You know. So I think it's great that they're going to have this conglomerate together and make sure that the Miami Hurricane players are taken care of. But I still am a fan of doing it behind the scenes.
Well, the interesting thing
I don't know. All you're asking for is trouble, man. When you're like, I don't know. All it takes is one tweet that's like a little crosses a line of some kind. Like we don't need the NCAA coming down here and doing some crazy stuff.
Trust me, the NCAA is checking every deal that John Ruiz does. I guarantee you.
I know, and that's
I
that's a
guarantee
little
they're
worrisome.
checking every one of them, because what's going on at Miami is a pace setter for what will eventually go on all over the country, and people are probably a little freaked out.
Well, the problem is, here's the problem. So if John Ruiz sends out one thing that's illegal or whatever, like the NCAA is looking for anything right now to screw Miami. You know they want to screw Miami. So that's why I'm saying, like, let's take it easy. Let's back off the social media. Just do what you got to do, man, for your company behind the scenes. Like, I don't get it. Some of these tweets
put enormous resources into figuring out the laws and what he can do and what he can't do. In fact, he's taking it on himself with this new collective that's going to be formed to be an advisory role to the new collective, because to help them make sure that they do everything by the book. And, you know, it's interesting because we talk about the showiness and all that stuff. Originally, the scuttlebutt was that the new collective was going to be headed up by Jose Mas. And I've heard recently that Jose Mas has backed away a little bit from that collective and doesn't want to be out front on this whole giving money away to players thing. Like, that's not the image that he wants for himself. You know, he would rather give his money to the university to build facilities, things like that. And I'm sure he'll be involved in the new facilities that are going to be built. But I think he made a conscious decision. Like, I don't want my brand to be giving money away to kids. And
well, I think it's not that. It's not that. Of course, anybody wants that. That's good for your.
Well,
the problem is the problem is agents, right? Agents can be shady. Agents have bad reputations. And basically, when you're doing this, you are in bed with agents. Like, that's what you're doing. Like, we went to John Ruiz events. It was packed with agents. I mean, even, you know, the biggest agents were there, right? And like, that's sort of some of the questionable stuff for some people who like don't maybe trust some of these agent guys, you know? And
well, the agents are doing exactly what you said. They're using NIL to build relationships for when
I'm saying when you associate
players go to the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Tyler Van Dyke is going to be represented by Drew Rosenhaus. I mean, you know, they have the relationship now. He's being represented by the Rosenhaus agency. They're getting him all kinds of NIL deals. I mean, he's got to be well up into six figures now. And
apparently he's getting $2,000 for any tweet for a company. Like, you call Drew Rosenhaus, can Tyler Van Dyke send out a tweet about my company? $2,000. Here you go. One tweet. That's it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, how much do I get from my tweets, Gary? What do I get?
But I know a few people that are going to be getting more than that. I mean, Nigel Pack and the Cavender twins are going to be getting more than $2,000 per tweet. I guarantee you. We'll talk about that in a minute. I want to finish this football subject, but so anyway, just to wrap up, you know, what's going on with NIL and John Ruiz, he clearly is building a brand for his family. He includes his kids in every single thing he says and does. You know, even a couple of his employees are often included in a lot of his communications and stuff. And he's building a brand, and he's doing a great job of it. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this continues to evolve in the future. But right now, Miami is getting just about every single player it's going after. And that is just a stunning thing to watch. If you're a fan, if you're covering it like we are, I mean, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning when you see this starting to extend to, you know, women's basketball. And you know, on face value, you're thinking the Cavender twins. These girls are going to do more for women's basketball at Miami probably than anybody in the history of the program. I mean, there's a decent chance that they will be packing the Watsco Center next year for women's basketball games for people that want to come out and see the Cavender twins who first saw them on TikTok or something like that and want to watch them play. And I'll tell you right now, I know a lot of people like for us to only cover football, but we won't only be covering football in the next year or two, because this is going to become a big show in town, Canes women's basketball, and people are going to be interested in these girls and how they're doing. And it's just wild, Matt. I mean, it's just wild. And then men's basketball, you lose Charlie Moore, you lose Cam McGusty, and you have to kind of retool a little bit. Sam Wardenberg's gone, and so what do? They go out and they get the top transfer, the top guy in the transfer portal, at least by many people's accounts, in Nigel Pack from Kansas State. And all you got to do is turn on this guy's highlights, and you're like, wow. I mean, he's a hell of a basketball player. He shoots like 41% from three. And man, John Ruiz just makes it happen. I mean, his largest NIL deal to date, $400,000 a year to Nigel Pack. Now, I might as well go ahead and segue into basketball a little bit here, because since I'm talking about it. But Matt, what does that do to Isaiah Wong is sitting there with a $100,000 deal, and he's the top player coming back. I'm not quite sure that he has the complete game of Nigel Pack, because Nigel Pack is freaking a knockdown shooter from three. I mean, big time shooter from outside that Isaiah Wong just is not at this point of his career. That's what he needs to try to become in the offseason. But the point I'm getting to is, and there's 100,000 is nothing to sneeze at, but you're going to have some disparities now. And I'm going to be curious to see what that does to locker rooms, what that does to team chemistry. Do players start getting jealous of their teammates who are making more money? I think it's very important that everybody get to participate at some level.
Well, to me, look, I mean, if you have to announce how much money they got, whatever, I'd prefer they keep it private for that reason. But, to me, the bigger concern is this is a team sport. They're all team sports, what we're talking about. When you put money into the equation at this age, it becomes an individual sport. A player wants the ball so he can get an NIL deal and make a lot of money. When he's the backup and he's not getting the money and the starter's getting the money, he's going to be upset, and it's not a great dynamic. It's not really what college sports is all about, but this is what professional sports is about. And college sports has basically become a professional sport, and fans, you guys have to adjust. This is not, this is not the same thing where it's just guys playing for the love of the sport or the love of the game. You want that, go to maybe high school sports isn't even that anymore. Go watch some Howard Palmetto baseball games, I guess. That's about the level you got to go to now. I don't love it. It's great for the kids to have money. Look, it's great for the kids to have money, period. I don't love it because I've always sort of liked that spirit of I'm just doing it, for an education, to be with my team because I want to play. And now it's going to be, I got to start and I got to get the ball, coach, because I need money for my family. It's a little different than it used to be, and I guess we'll just get used to it,
Yeah. So the Omir kid from Arkansas State, I guess is working through some stuff or whatever before he can announce his commitment. But I expect him to become a Miami Hurricane. He'll get an NIL deal. So I guess my point is, okay, so now you're giving NIL deals to these transfers. Now the guy's coming back. Okay, Wong's got one on the table. Has to decide whether to take it or not. What about Jordan Miller? Somebody needs to give Jordan Miller an NIL deal. What do you mean somebody has to? Nobody has to do anything. I mean, it's going to be a bidding war in the future. Did he earn it with his play last year? I think he did.
Once this moves forward, every player who's anything will be having his agent go to every school out there, seeing who's the highest bidder, and that's where they're going to wind up. Yeah, so in that sense, he needs an NIL deal, but not yet. This is in the next 2 or 3 years. This is what's going to happen at the top 10 or 20 schools in the country that have major markets. It's going to be a bidding war that every agent's going to want to get involved with for their clients, who are going to eventually be their NFL contract clients. And it's going to be a freaking mess, man. But like for right now, you don't have to pay anybody because the bidding wars haven't begun. Agents haven't really gotten to that point where they have those contacts with 10 or 20 different schools, where all these schools have these collectives set up, which they're all going to have. Miami might be at the front of it, but they're all going to have it. And like, it's going to be a disaster, in my opinion, because there's going to be nobody who plays at any one school for 3 to 5 years anymore. It's going to be, I'm going to be a backup in my second year because they just got this kid they're paying $500,000 to. I'm going to leave now, and I get $300,000 at that school. It's going to be.
Well, it is happening.
Akeem Messidor
is at West Virginia. It is happening
right now. People aren't leaving for money. You don't have the top quarterback. When the top quarterback at Alabama, who's starting there, leaves because he's getting $1 million to go to Tennessee, that's when we'll be talking about this. Not a backup somewhere who's going somewhere to get a decent NIL deal.
Akeem Messidor, West Virginia.
He didn't leave to get an NIL money. He left because he was going to be a defensive tackle where he was playing. He wants to be a defensive end. That's why he left.
Trust me, the NIL deal had something to do with it.
Yeah,
Caleb Johnson from UCLA comes to Miami.
Gary, listen to me. Right now, people are leaving, and then they're going where they get the best NIL deal. Eventually, it's going to be the starters are leaving who are really good at their school because another school is offering their agent, hey, if your kid leaves, let him know. We got $1 million on the table. That's when you're going to know. When the starter at Alabama at the left tackle leaves his sophomore year and he just started as a freshman, you're going to know why, okay? Yeah. Right now, it's not happening.
All right, but the bottom line is I think football through Dan Lambert, through John Ruiz, is coming out of this okay because everybody's getting to participate. And I've spoken to Dan Lambert about it. He is going to do his.
Ask Dan Lambert to send more tweets. He's getting totally overshadowed, man.
He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to put on a show.
I know.
Yeah, he's looking for nothing out of this.
I know.
Yeah. But he's going to do his deal with American Top Team again for every player on the team. He's trying to make it bigger than last year. He's trying to raise some extra money from other people and stuff.
That's the way to do it, man. That's how I would do it. When I got my billions and I'm helping out the Miami Hurricanes, man, that's how I'm doing it. Nobody even knows. Listen, for all you guys out there know, I've given away $1 billion already. Shh. Like, nobody's going to know. No one will know.
All right. So, Nigel Pack, the guard from Kansas State, gets $400,000 a year for hopefully 2 years.
And a car. Don't forget the car.
And a car.
Apparently, he got a 1979 Ford LTD. I believe Ruiz got it for $400 off of eBay. So congratulations, Nigel. No details on the car. I'm guessing it's a really horrible car. Barely runs.
All right. So let's talk about the
by the way, I drove a 1979 Ford LTD. That's why I brought it up. That car would stall out in college when I'd be driving it down the middle of the highway. Just all of a sudden stall out. All the lights go on. Power steering goes out. You could barely get to the side of the road. That's why I bought that up. I like that car. Looks like a police car.
Let's talk for a minute about the twins, the Cavender twins, who, they were doing so well out at Fresno State, and boom, out of nowhere, Hannah and Haley Cavender decide that they are going to come and be Miami Hurricanes. And I've checked out their social media and stuff, and it's it's interesting, man. I mean, they have 4 million followers on TikTok. 4 million. I mean, that is a massive number. And I'm just going to be interested to see how that translates into benefit for Miami. I mean, ultimately, it's going to be about, how they play, I think. But, they are going to be a marketing machine with their social media.
I mean, you called me. This was, I guess, the second to last spring practice, maybe. And you're like, hey, Matt, I need you to write a women's basketball story. And I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm writing a women's basketball story. I got 7 stories to write today. I got this other project I'm working on. I'm like, there's no way I'm writing a women's basketball story. And you're like, well, listen, the Cavender twins, I think they're coming to Miami. I'm like, who are the Cavender twins? I don't follow women's basketball. And they sent me some links to these crazy videos. And I'm like, I'll write the story, Gary. That's all right. I'll write the story. They're very interesting ladies. I'll tell you that. They've got quite a following, and yeah, we're going to be following their careers very closely. It should be very interesting.
It's amazing. Like, 4 million followers on TikTok, and I mean, you can see that. I mean, the girls are adorable. But the biggest thing is that they are really good basketball players, and that's what I like. Like, these girls are genuinely good athletes, and they will make a big contribution to Miami basketball as guard and wing players, and they handle the ball great. They shoot the ball well. They're serious about training and working out, and they go on vacation with the basketball so they can get some shots in while they're on the road and things like that. So it's going to be so much fun to just watch this evolution of women's basketball at the U with the Cavender twins. It's this box office attraction that is going to change the dynamics of the sport at Miami. And, congrats to Katie Meyer for being able to get this done. Huge assist from John Ruiz. This dollar figure has not been made public. So I will not, I will not say what it is, but it's significant. And it's a great deal for those girls, and it's a good deal for Miami. So we'll be following that as it goes forward in the future. All right, we got a ton of recruiting to talk about also today, but before we do, let's take a moment and let's hear from our friends at LifeWallet.
We here at LifeWallet take security very seriously. Our data security team is working constantly to make sure that your data is not accessed by anybody who you don't authorize.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, I'm
Excuse me, sir. Thank you.
I have from CC, and he's thinking about it, and I'll be talking to CC. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We use leading technology standards like biometric data to make sure that only you have access to your data and your identity is protected. LifeWallet gives you access to your entire medical history and information at the touch of your finger, so that it can save you time and can save your life.
Data transfer complete.
All right, Matt. A ton of recruiting, news going on the last few days. It's never ending. I mean, it's absolutely amazing the way the staff recruits and the constant flow of players through campus. And, Peyton Kirkland, the 5-star offensive lineman, he visited, and Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal showed him how important he is by never leaving his side. But then it didn't stop there. I mean, Hakeem Williams, the wide receiver from Fort Lauderdale, things had kind of, little momentum had been lost there. They got him back on campus. They got a visit from Declan Dooley, the nation's top punter. Still waiting to see if he gets an offer, but he visited for the first time. Georgia commit Antoine Jackson, a cornerback from Fort Lauderdale Dillard. He's engaged in a clear flirtation with Miami. 4-star New Jersey lineman Chase Besantis. He was impressed with his Miami visit. 4-star South Carolina offensive lineman with a cane offer, Josiah Thompson. He took a Miami visit and said he's right up there. Defensive back TJ Metcalf from Pinson, Alabama. And then last but not least, and I saved this one because I know how big of a priority this kid is. 4-star linebacker Raul Aguirre. They call him Popo, and he is just an amazing looking linebacker prospect, and we know how bad Miami needs linebackers. His father has a connection to the Mirabal family from when he played for Alex Mirabal when Alex Mirabal was the head coach at Columbus. This obviously gives Miami a great chance. So, Matt, just a continuation. It's just day after day after day, the high level of recruiting taking place at the U now.
Yeah, I love Raul Aguirre. I haven't asked how to pronounce his last name, but he's a pretty funny guy. So his dad couldn't come down because he had to work this weekend. But you know, his dad was on that team where it's sort of a famous story, and Alex Mirabal talks about the story a lot, how he was coaching this team, and it was a JV team at Columbus back in the day. And he was really upset at halftime with how the team was doing. And he says he meant to smack his whiteboard, but he wound up smacking a window and basically have almost bleeding out and having to get his hand wrapped by an EMT and rushed to the hospital and blah, blah, blah. Well, Raul, I'll call him Aguirre since that's what you call him. Raul Aguirre's father was on that team, okay? And Raul's father is best friends with Alex Mirabal's brother. And Raul has family on the dad's side all over the Miami area. He stayed with family. He came down by himself, stayed with family, and took the Miami visit, which is great. But so I called, when I called Raul, you know, we talked a few times before, and he's a funny, nice kid. So I said to Raul, I said, did Coach Mirabal put his hand through a window to show how bad he wanted you on the visit, you know? And Raul laughed about it, and he said, well, that would have been pretty funny, but he didn't. But, you know, we had a great time, and he met with Alex, and he met with the, you know, his position coach, and he loved all the coaches, and he had a great time. And I personally think he's going to be a Hurricane. But the thing with these top recruits is they go through the process. And we talked about this, the 2- and 3-star kids that Al Golden was getting, that Randy Shannon was getting, that Mark Richt was getting, although Mark Richt did a little better job with the 4 stars, that Manny Diaz was getting at this early stage. They were getting 2 and 3 stars at this early stage. A lot of projects, guys they'd see at camps, guys they'd evaluate in the spring and give an offer to, and the guy's like, okay, I'm coming. I only have 3 offers, so I'm coming to Miami. I'm so excited, you know. That's not the guys Miami's going after anymore. The guys Miami's going after anymore have major programs after them, and they're not deciding spur of the moment, I'm committing. A lot of them will decide before their season in July, or before the end of July, and I think Miami will have a double-digit commitment list by the end of July. But it's not happening yet. They're going through June official visits, and that's why you don't see a lot of commits right now on the list, and that's okay because they're being selective. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's refreshing.
All right, so wrap it all up, and it's just been just an absolutely insane few days down in Coral Gables, and I know how, you know, Coach Joe would sum it all up. Boom. A lot of boom going on at Miami, and it's a lot of fun to watch. All right, so that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. We thank you so much for joining us. Sorry that we missed you on Friday. For Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We hope everybody has a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow, everybody.